we will hear updates from the Executive Director, Wende Julien, on the POC's progress towards completing its 2022 strategic goals, which will include updates on the OC spray deployment, the launching of the POC's data dashboard, progress on sexual misconduct hearings, and POC inspections. Wende, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair Carrillo. I hope you'll indulge me. I have a longer report today than usual, lots of important things to share. I wanted to start by thanking the employees who have attended our town halls, as well as the commissioners who attended the town halls. I actually think a number of the questions you heard in the last few items come directly from some of the things that we heard in those town halls. It's always a risk to come and talk about concerns you might have about your job. And it's only through that level of risk taking that we're actually going to be able to move forward. And I just thought it was a really helpful experience. I also appreciate leadership's support of our conducting those and the unions for, in the last case, providing space and dinner for us to do that. So it provided the opportunity for some very frank conversation. I think you can see that the commissioners listened and will continue to ask questions as they continue to push forward. I said this in the public safety cluster meeting yesterday, and I'll say it again as I move into talking about OC spray. I believe that the reason that I decided to do this job myself and working in probation oversight is because I really believe that the probation department, and in particular the staff of the probation department, have not only the will, but the ability to make the changes that have been set forth for them. I think there are lots of folks who agree with the changes and lots of folks who have the capacity to do it. And it's a matter of getting in a place where it's people feel motivated and safe and with a shared agenda to move forward. So with that level of optimism, I will say that I reported back to you a couple months ago on our progress on the 2022 goals with our strategic plan, which is really significantly positive. Yet the overall accomplishment toward the goals of moving things within the department is not so positive. So many things, in fact, I think are in some ways in a worse condition than they were when we first started. And that's frustrating and also calls into question how we've set our benchmarks and measurements about success for the Probation Oversight Commission. So we are actively looking for a new strategic planning consultant to help guide us in how we set those goals to push the actual achievement of the departmental movement forward, in addition to just accomplishing those things that we set before us that are within our control. That's a hard thing to do, but it's certainly what we were created for as a body. And I am thankful to the commissioners for their willingness to continue holding themselves accountable and the staff accountable towards moving that direction. With respect to OC spray, those of you who attended our last meeting on the 16th of November heard an incredible report from Dr. Gongora, which was the result of many hours of study of the data that probation has so willingly provided to us about OC spray, and showed some really concerning upticks in the use of OC spray in some facilities, one facility, Central Juvenile Hall, and some of the units, particularly within the facility. I will say that at the meeting, we heard Superintendents Bima and Jones talk about the expectation that at today's meeting, we would be able to report a significant decline in the use of OC spray, and that is in fact the case. There is an update to the OC spray report attached to the agenda today that shows that the number of deployments of OC spray in November is about half of what it was in the preceding month. It still is approximately a spray a day. Still alarming numbers, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, too many, but really tremendous improvement over the months before. What the cause of that decline is, I actually wish we knew. I think Chief Patino wishes we knew too. We'd really like to have more information about why these things are happening and the success that we've seen in particular in some units. And we're continuing to work with the department to get better data on these issues so that we can help to pinpoint things specifically. The Probation Oversight Commission is going to help with that by continuing to publish and even publish in a much more public-friendly facing dashboard, the OC spray over the time so that we can make sure that people know that there are eyes on it. I think that actually is probably a partial contribution to the decline. And in my meetings with the chiefs, they have discussed movements that they're making around both an early intervention system that will help to look at incidents that happen involving OC spray and other incidents that happen, and ways to improve that within the facilities, and also looking at staff issues and whether there are actually specific places where there are things that are occurring that don't go along with the direction in which both the department and the county are asking us to go, which is phasing out OC spray. So I will say that the update is both a congratulations on a remarkable improvement by the department, and also a motivation to continue working toward getting this number to 0, which is where it should be. So please take a look at that updated report. I mentioned the POC data dashboard. So we are actually in sort of final construction phases of an outward facing dashboard that will be a much easier way for you all. And by this, I mean all people who work in the county and people who are members of the public and everyone who listens, to be able to see regular updates on statistics of who is in the facilities. We get daily information from the department, and we'll be providing that on a monthly basis so that you can see the trends, the increases and decreases at different facilities. And then, as I said, also providing information on the OC spray data. We're hoping to launch early 2023. It's getting very close, and really thankful to the Data and Research Committee, in particular, Commissioner Danielle Dupuy, who's been, she's absolutely the expert on these issues and has been really fantastic in terms of helping us move forward. Then I will mention the annual inspections. So we have the official Rocky, Afterbaugh, and Page inspections attached to this week's report. Dr. Reynoso gave a thorough overview of those inspections at the last meeting. So what's left is Kilpatrick and then the 2 halls. So the inspections are completed. Our staff is working on merging all the notes from the different commissioners together and getting those ready. We will turn them in to both the department, most importantly, and the and actually, as I say that, I think we have, in fact, turned in the reports, some of the reports to the department, but we'll be getting the reports on the halls and Kilpatrick to the department, and then to the BSCC and to the board, and presenting on those in January. We're actually doing that fairly intentionally because last year we presented them in December and nobody read them. And then we presented them again in the spring and a whole bunch of people read them. So we learned from our mistake, and we'll be presenting them so that they get the attention they deserve early in 2023. And then finally, I would like to say that we had, and actually I'm going to ask Commissioner Jackson to add on to these comments. We had a really, I don't even know what the word to use is, Commissioner Jackson. It was a great meeting with some of the attorneys and victims of the alleged sexual misconduct that have been willing to talk to us about their potential involvement in hearings going forward. And it was illustrative both to me in a personal way as well as in a thoughtful way with respect to how we might go forward as this commission. And I think we have some really great thoughts. We're actually going to convene the subcommittee back because it was just myself and Commissioner Jackson in that meeting, so that we can determine how to go forward with next steps. So Commissioner Jackson, I will turn it over to you to add more comments about that.
I'm happy to say a few things. So as Wende said, we met with some of the survivors. There was some interesting conversation about the difference in language and choosing to sort of call them victims versus survivors. And I think we want to respectfully sort of refer them as survivors in this context. But we had a really great meeting with them last week, and the goal was to get their blessing on our plan to conduct these meetings, right? And to reinforce our goal to allow them to shape this entire process, to not only shape it, but spearhead it in some ways. And most importantly, allow them to express the outcomes that they would like to see, right? This is about them. And although this process is in part about holding the probation department accountable for what I see to be poison in their system, right? In its system, it's a real aim for us to uplift the stories of the women's in a way that will allow them to live healthier lives going forward. You'd be surprised, even after all these years, for some of the victims, the gaping hole that's been left in their lives after surviving some of these incidents. I heard some of it in the meeting that we had. And I think in the interest of supporting the long-term or their long-term well-being, we want to not only conduct the hearings, but we also like to, we also like to establish a victim fund so that they can access quality to mental health services. And so this is like a sort of double-pronged process where it's about uplifting the testimony, the stories. It's about the accountability piece, but it's also providing them something, a material benefit, if you will, something to support their emotional well-being, something that's going to hopefully promote and foster healing in their lives. And that's what, in part, this is about. And so I'd like to put forth a motion at some point. I don't know if now is the appropriate time to do that or wait until we are, the commissioners weigh in after public comment. But yeah, we'd like to propose a motion to begin the latter process of starting the fund.